Ringe weakened. With Reddick playing, the Cantabs simply would be outclassed. It would be like trying to stop Superman with bullets. No way. Reddick is too fast and powerful for the Cantabs and would have turned the game into a rout. As you can see, it was the 83rd annual Classic. It's no more. It was a shame to let that tradition go. We had 83 Thanksgiving Day games up until 73. And as you can see, the Latin kids, they do look small. You know, but this is the way it was. I can show you my high school football picture. We were small guys. And it just seemed like the Ringe kids were always just bigger. It just seemed that way. Look at this guy, number 61's got a mustache. Oh, geez, I just saw that. He's got a mustache. And somehow they just look bigger. Now, I don't think there was any bad intent at all. I think it was just a mistake, and that was it.
How does it make you feel to be back here?
I've been back here before. So somehow when I walk across here, I always think about playing baseball. Not necessarily that, but when I come here, I think about glory days. You know, back here, I hit a ball. Those trees weren't there. Those trees were not there. It probably would have been good if those trees were there, because I hit a ball on that third floor building over there. So I was hitting here, and Lefty George Lefty Barlow, who was sort of like a coach, hit me a ball, and for the first time, I didn't swing this way. It was so high, I swung up. That ball took off, and it hit it was right above the third floor of that building. I would have been out in Fenway Park. Longest ball I ever hit. A bunch of bushes here. They're big bushes. And he came from out of the bushes. He used to take care of this park. And that was a great job in my day, working for the park department. This was the field. And this was the field where I had that fateful encounter with those kids from Charlestown who tried to kill me. It was right about here. When the game was over, we kept our bikes along this fence. That fence we put our bikes against that fence. The day that these kids from Charlestown came to play, they parked their car right against the fence on this side, and evidently when the game was over, I just had to get my bike was over against the fence. I turned around and everybody else was gone. And these kids Charlestown kids were trying to steal my bike, take my baseball bat, and hit me. And they were swinging it at, one fellow was swinging at me, another fellow had a switchblade, and I was in deep trouble. In those days, this was all bushes. There were high bushes right here behind the backstop. And all of a sudden, I was facing this way. The person who was going to hit me with the bat was looking this way, looking towards the bushes. He said that he was going to split my head open like a watermelon. And the kid with the switchblade knife said, "Yud," and he used the N-word, like watermelon. And I thought I was in danger. I was trying to get loose, and Jim Cody came from around here without my knowing it. I was facing this way, trying to think this was my escape route. And he was about to hit me from this side, and he looked up and he said, "Superman." And that's all I remember. He stopped, his eyes got wide, and I heard Jim Cody say, "You okay, Spence?" And I looked, and there was Jim Cody, looking like Superman. White t-shirt, tan khaki pants, really sculpted. And I remember saying, "I'm okay, Jim." Hopped on my bike, which was right there, and headed right down Concord Ave, down into Broadway, all the way back to my street, which is Amory Street, which is off of Broadway, and just thinking that Jim Cody had saved my life. And I'll always remember that day. It took place right here. This was the place that I almost met my demise. Even 11 years later, that's Jim Cody right there. You can see he looks a bit like Superman even there. This is him right there.
And feel free to, if you could mention this, talk about the Superman thing that you told me again.
Well, this is fascinating. We're going back to 1973. And I was a young man in 1973. And I remember the game very, very well. And I had never seen my cousin Roger play. I had heard from friends that he was just incredible. And I had one friend who told me he might have been the best football player to come out of Cambridge, which was quite a feat because we had some great players come out of Cambridge. And as I read these articles, they talk about how powerful he was. And this is a newspaper that says that Roger would be ineligible for the Thanksgiving game. And it said, without Roger, Ringe is reduced just to a regular team. Trying to stop, if Roger had played, it would be trying to stop Superman with bullets. You just couldn't do it. He was just too strong and too powerful. And another article said he was a man among men playing this game. He was strong, powerful, and fast. He was only ineligible by 3 days. I get the frustration that Ringe probably had. I get a call from my mother's sister, Nadine, Roger's mother. She was in a hospital bed. She was slurring her words. She had to give the phone to my mother. She had been in a terrible accident. They thought that she was going to die. A car had hit her so hard that it knocked her out of her clothes. And she was sort of delirious, but she said, "Jimmy, you have to talk to Roger." Roger was going to play his senior year at Ringe Tech in 1973, and he was declared ineligible. And according to his mother, he was distraught. I caught up to Roger, and I sat him down and said, "Roger, I'm really sorry. This is going on. Tell me what's going on." He said, "Oh, Jimmy, you know how Latin is." He said, "Oh, that's right. You went to Latin." I said, "Yeah, I did." He says, "Well, you know what? I missed it by 3 days. Do you think they could have let me have it by 3 days?" I said, "Well, Roger, I know that. I guess that's just a rule. And the rules, you have to obey rules." He says, "Well, it was all racism." I said, "Well, who's the coach of Latin?" He says, "Jim Cody." I took my breath away. I said, "Jim Cody." I took a breath. I said, "Rog, Jim Cody is one of the finest men I have ever met." And I told him about that day on the Common. And I said, "Rog, I got to tell you wholeheartedly, I hope you believe me, Jim Cody is not a racist." And he believed me. He said, "Okay, Jimmy, I was just emotional. I really wanted to play." He got a scholarship to Boston College, where he was the starting cornerback. And he was still Ram Reddick. He would hit really, really hard. He was known for hitting people really, really hard. And I was at a game. They were playing Texas, and I was sitting right next to his mother, Nadine, who had made this miraculous recovery. And Roger hit a kid, and they hit so hard that both of them just sort of fell on the ground. And I remember looking and saying, "I hope Roger gets up." His mother, Nadine, grabbed my hand like this, and Nadine never showed emotion, but she was like that, and we were all wondering what happened to Roger. Well, Roger did make it up and he did play some more, but I always thought that hit had taken a lot out of Roger. Roger, after graduating from BC, that was his career. He never went on to the pros or anything. He became a mentor to kids in Cambridge, especially around football. And I'll never forget the call when my mother says, Roger has a brain tumor. And it was really serious. And my Aunt Nadine, my Aunt Gladys, my mother's two sisters, they were saying, Jimmy, you got to go see him. And I always wanted to go see him. I always planned to do it, but I never made it up there. And one of the big regrets of my life is I never made it. Somehow I just didn't believe that Roger could die. And Roger died. And it was horrible. The family was really devastated by that because Roger was my first cousin to die, all of them being very, very young. So it was like our family had known a lot of death